With us in studio as we speak, great friend of ours, Dr. Joe Congeni, Sports Medicine Center at Akron Children's Hospital, and you were at the St. V. Hoban game last night. I hear some kind of game last night.
It sure was, Ray. Oh my gosh. I love high school sports. You couldn't shoehorn another person in the gym. The place was so packed and hot.
I love that.
These high school kids are 16, 17, 18 playing on that kind of a stage with people screaming at them in overtime. And it's just one of the purest forms of sport. I love it.
Yeah. I wish I was there on the sidelines calling those type of events. I miss those days for sure. Okay. Let's go back to Super Bowl Sunday. Alex Mack, center for the Falcons, former Browns center, plays with a fractured fibula?
Yeah, that's the biggest question I'm being asked in the office is, does this happen very often? Can you play with a fracture? And I actually saw the play in the NFC Championship game where he rolled the ankle. It looked very similar to other types of ankle sprains that people would have. And so really the take-home point, again, is we watch all the professional athletes, but we try to apply it to younger kids and to the kids that we just got done talking about, the high school kids, the pre-high school kids, junior high kids, and stuff like that. It would not be a recommendation that a kid with a fracture in high school take pain medicines or get shots before a game to be able to play. That would not be something we'd recommend. But a big take-home point is a lot of bad ankle sprains, once you've had one, people think, it is always just a ligament injury. 15 to 20% of bad sprains will have a fracture with it.
Oh.
So the take-home point is, as a parent, a coach, somebody working with a young kid, if they sprain their ankle badly, if they have a lot of swelling and discoloration, yes, it's probably stretched and torn ligaments. If they have bone pain and they're limping and they can't bear weight very well, within 48 hours, they really should have an x-ray because, again, like I said, 15 to 20% will have a bone fracture with it, and it's treated a little bit differently with a bone fracture than it is with just a ligament
And
tear.
we got all those little bones down in there, too. When you really sprain that hard, I can see what you're talking about. One of those things could get a little chip in it and such.
Yeah, and you know what? And you and I were speaking before, is this was a little bit different in the Alex Mack issue because he had a bad fracture 2 years ago. Again, another painful moment from Cleveland sports past is the Browns were playing their best football they've played in the last 5 or 10 years. He was doing so well with Shanahan's offense. You might remember how well the team was doing. He rolled the ankle, broke the ankle, and that fracture, really, that 7-4 team, the Browns that got off to 7-4, was never the same. And you say, oh my gosh, could a center be that important to a team? Very important. But he broke it, missed the remainder of the season, had to have a plate placed. Again, they're a lot more likely to do that in a professional situation, to operate on those kinds of things. They placed a plate in there, and this fracture, because of the leverage right above that metal plate, he broke the fibula right above that plate. So he began preparing with knowing the 2 weeks for the Super Bowl to try to be ready that night. And even with the meds he took and the shots he took, by the fourth quarter, he was limping around quite a bit. And so playing on that fracture, not a risk we want to take with a high school kid, not a risk we want to take with a younger kid. Some risk for the future for arthritis, for whether he's going to be able to walk normally again later in his life. Not that kind of a risk. You might accept that risk for playing in a Super Bowl, and Alex Mack did.
Joe, we hear a lot of fractures and stuff and plates and rods put into legs and stuff. Educate all of us. When a player gets a compound fracture or fracture and they got the plate, they got the rod, take us 2 years down the road. Is the leg as strong as it ever was? Maybe stronger? Is there still a chance of a recurring injury?
Well, if across the fracture site, it may even be stronger over that period of time. And I guess maybe even the step before that, Ray, would be how do we make that decision of what fracture? Because in a clinic like ours and with our orthopedic doctors, our bone specialists right next door to us, what things need to be fixed and what not. We call it kind of is it stable or not? Is this fracture with just time and rest and casting going to heal strong enough? Or is it the kind of fracture that is not going to heal strong enough? It's going to always be unstable and run the risk of fracturing again or not healing well enough on its own or not holding up to the rigors of sport, like a J.R. Smith fracture. How many fractures do you see of a thumb or a finger and you don't need surgery to get it fixed? it happens to be in the place where his fracture was at the base of the thumb, it wouldn't have been stable enough without fixing it, and he had to have hardware placed in the base of his thumb to get it to heal. So we look at fractures that, in our terminology, are stable and unstable. And who knows that? Well, sports medicine docs, and particularly with the help of our orthopedic docs, they know which fractures need fixed and not.
Dr. Joe Congeni with us, Sports Medicine Center at Akron Children's Hospital. Final thing I wanted to ask you this morning, and it happened after you left last week. Tiger Woods bailed out of the Dubai Golf Classic last Thursday after a horrible first round and left with back spasms. And he's done so much rehabilitating, trying to get back, leg muscles and shoulders and back issues. Back spasms. Talk to me about that. Is that a lingering thing? Is that just something that could flare up? Is this cause of concern for Tiger Woods fans?
Oh, my gosh, certainly cause of concern. And back spasms, just very simply, Ray, it's the body's way of telling you that there is pain or injury in some area of the low back. There's so many muscles, over 200 different muscles in the low back. There's discs, there's nerves, there's so many structures back there. But when there's a significant injury to the back, the muscles want to splint that area or reduce the range of motion in that area, just like you put a splint or a boot on a fractured foot. Is it splinting or shutting down that area? And those very powerful paraspinous muscles, the muscles that line the spine, they will knot up into a tight contracted spasm to try to protect. That's what they're trying to do. And so this spasmed area is an area of contraction. When you try to play sports, when you have these spasms, you see the results in the NBA with guys like Kevin Love. He comes out and he plays a couple minutes in the second half. He's got to go sit on the bench. Tiger Woods' swing looked absolutely terrible, Ray. You know that. If you saw some of the footage, it was terrible. The thought was, is it in his head or anything? That was not in his head. That was coming from his back. The fact he's had several surgeries, the fact he's still back to spasm. Yes, I guess his agent was right that the spasm may be short term, but the fact that the spasm, the muscles knotted up to protect an area in his back, tells you that he may not be all the way healed or back to what you need to do, especially for the demands of professional sports.
All right. Great stuff, Joe. Thanks for coming in again. Good seeing you.
Thanks, Ray. Have a great week.
You too. Dr. Joe Congeni, Sports Medicine Center at Akron Children's Hospital.